Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day. In today's episode, we are going to go looking for our first precious resources. We want some iron, we want some coal, maybe a little copper, and whatever else we can find. I've been doing a little bit of tree farming and cow farming between episodes, and today we're going to put our cows to good use. First of all, by killing 4 of them. Hopefully those 4 should have dropped enough leather. We have 4 leather. We're going to make some leather boots. We'll throw the beef in the furnace to cook, but before we do that, we're going to put 1 or 2 logs in the top part of the furnace, put a couple of planks in there to cook them, and these logs will turn into charcoal, which is the equivalent of coal in terms of fuel. It will smelt 8 items, or in this case, cook 8 raw beef. It consumes a log to make a piece of charcoal, but the fuel we get from that is potentially a little more effective than planks, and if you have enough logs, you can make a stack of charcoal, leave it in a furnace, and the furnace will stay lit for a lot longer. Now we're going to craft these 4 leather into a pair of boots, like so. And with the boots held in our hand on the hotbar, we're going to right-click to equip them. You can equip them in the armor screen here, but it is possible to just right-click them if you're holding them in your hand. And then we're going to set off towards our destination, because we aren't going caving to get our first precious resources, we're going mountaineering instead. If you've played earlier versions of Minecraft, you might be used to getting iron from the lower levels of the world, but in Minecraft 1.18, when terrain had a substantial amount of changes, one of the things that changed was that iron can now be found higher up in mountains. So why have we crafted leather boots? Well, we might also find some powder snow on this mountain, and it just so happens that leather boots will prevent you from falling through powder snow if you're climbing a potentially treacherous mountain like this one. Now, from ground level, somewhere down here, I spotted, there it is, a little pocket of iron ore. So we're going to mine this with our stone pickaxe. Iron cannot be mined with wood, so make sure you have a stone pickaxe before you do this. I'm also going to gather a little bit of coal from the mountain since there is a small pocket of coal here. That's perfect, we got 11 coal from that. We'll be able to use that to smelt more things and make some torches. While we're here, I'll explore a little more of the mountain peak, just in case there are other deposits of iron that aren't visible from the ground. There's one underneath this overhang, let's grab that. There are a couple of more pieces behind it, so it's always worth mining these out to check if there's any more hidden behind there. And so far we have 8 pieces of iron, so a single piece of the coal we harvested will smelt all of that. And we've reached the peak of the mountain, and we find our first mountain goat. These are mischievous creatures that will occasionally ram you if you stand still for too long, so make sure you keep your head on a swivel and pay attention when they're around. We might end up farming goats at some point, but they can jump pretty high, so the fences we've been using to contain the other animals might not be sufficient. Anyway, goat encounters aside, the top of this mountain is mostly ice, but there are still a few hidden pockets of iron here and there. We might need to break the ice in order to get through to them. That looks like all the iron I can find on the surface for now, and we're going to briefly press the F3 button on the keyboard so we can check our coordinates, which are listed in the top row of that second chunk of data on the left-hand side. On Bedrock Edition, you can display your coordinates by toggling the option in the options menu, but on Java Edition we have to rely on this debug screen that shows us the coordinates and a bunch of other data. You can see right now that our Y coordinate, that central number, is 135. And you'll find that iron ore becomes much more common in mountainous biomes above a Y coordinate of 120. So if you want to go looking for iron in the mountains, it's best to make sure you have a mountain that's tall enough. While we're on our way down, a quick diversion so we can take a look at this powdered snow. As you can see, we get the light as a rabbit advancement for walking on top of powdered snow, and as long as we are wearing our leather boots, we should have no problem. Oh, I've spotted a pillager patrol in the distance. Let's hide from them by holding shift and sinking down into the powdered snow. Not a particularly effective strategy for hiding, but you'll also notice I don't start to take any damage when standing in powdered snow with these leather boots on, whereas if I take them off, the field of view starts to get very frosty, and in a second, I'll start to take some damage. There you go, my heart's turned to ice, and I end up taking a point of damage for every second or 2 that I stand in the powdered snow. Popping your leather boots on will negate this effect, and allow you to even jump up through the powdered snow if you need to escape it. Night is falling, so we're going to ride this waterfall back down towards our house. We're going to sleep for the night, and in the morning we will smelt the 14 iron we've acquired from the mountain. On the way back through, since it's a nice evening, I will continue to breed these cows to make sure we have enough food and leather for future projects. While we've been up the mountain, our steak has cooked, so we're going to pop the iron in the furnace now, and get some sleep. We can't sleep right now because there are monsters nearby. It sounds like a spider is a little too close to the house. There we go. Dispatch the spider, grab the string that it drops, and let's see if we can sleep now. The other undead monsters should start to burn in the sun, so we can take this opportunity to get some easy bone meal, but I'm trying to avoid engaging in combat right now because my axe is about to break. Good news though, we now have enough iron that we can start to upgrade some of our tools. We'll get the acquire hardware advancement for collecting our first iron ingot, and the first thing we're going to do with the iron we acquired is make an iron pickaxe, which will allow us to mine a lot more resources. In fact, iron pickaxes can mine almost everything in the game, with the exception of 2 blocks, ancient debris, and obsidian. Well, technically 3 if you count crying obsidian as well. But we also get an advancement, isn't it ironic, for having an iron pickaxe at last? With the rest of the iron collected from the furnace, we have a couple of different options. We can continue to upgrade our tools by crafting an iron axe to replace this stone one. The iron axe doesn't harvest any materials that the stone one is unable to. They will both harvest trees and wooden items, no problem, but the iron axe has a lot more durability and will mine faster, allowing you to chop down trees a lot quicker. The shovel is kind of the same deal. There isn't really anything you can get with an iron shovel that you can't get with a stone shovel, but once again, more durability and a slightly faster mining speed. Instead of that though, we're going to prioritize our own protection. We're going to get 6 oak planks, arrange them in a crafting table in a kind of V shape like this, put 1 iron ingot there to receive a shield. With the remaining 7 iron ingots, we're going to craft those into a pair of leggings, like so, and that will give us +5 armor, which means a little better protection. That also gets us the suit up advancement. We can shift-click these leggings into the armor space there, and now it looks like we're wearing a pair of very high-waisted trousers, but we are a lot better protected, as you can see from the armor bar at the bottom of the screen. The shield goes in the offhand slot here in our inventory, and now by holding down the right-click button, I can defend myself against incoming attacks. Stick around for the rest of the video, because now we have some more iron gear. We're going to go caving and see what resources we can find below the surface. Hey folks, welcome back. So before we go on our mining trip, the first thing I'm going to do is drop off all of this loose inventory that I've got. I'm only going to leave a few items in my inventory so that we can make sure we have enough to survive, but our inventory isn't cluttered and we can bring back anything we acquire on our journey. I'm going to just bring the food I have the most of. In this case, we have 10 steak. I don't really need to bring the arrows with me since I don't have a bow yet. The main things I'm bringing are the pickaxe to mine stuff, the iron axe to attack stuff, the shovel so that we can dig up any dirt or gravel that we find, some torches and the materials to make torches, notably the coal and the sticks here, and then some extra logs in case we need to do any crafting while we're there. And we are going to go back to the cave that I spotted on our first journey over here. Here we are. If you want the coordinates for this, if you're playing along in the same world, this is at -259, -84 on the X and Z axis, but if you're navigating just by compass directions, it's really just west across the river from spawn. The sun is going down, but we don't need to worry too much about that because monsters will spawn in any areas where the light level reaches 0. And since it's now raining, actually quite a nice opportunity to get inside this cave. To make it safe for ourselves as we go, we're going to place torches in any dark areas, lighting them up and preventing monsters from spawning in that area when we return. I'm going to make a few more torches with the supplies I have, and we're going to prioritize gathering some coal along with any iron we find. That will allow us to make more torches as we travel, and it's always a good idea to aim to bring back more coal than you brought with you. I often like to travel through a cave, lighting up an area before I return to gather some of the resources I've found along the way, simply because turning your back in caves like these is not a good idea with these creatures around. Still, any explosions that happen will also be an opportunity to gather more resources. We picked up some gravel and flint from the patch of gravel that creeper destroyed, and we can fend off any zombies with a couple of quick crits with our iron axe, which doesn't do any more damage than the stone axe does, but is ever so slightly faster in terms of attack speed. Oh, this zombie just dropped a carrot. Fantastic. We will grab that and we can replant that as a crop. Both carrots and potatoes are rare drops from zombies. You can find them elsewhere in the world, but it's nice to have one nice and early in your playthrough. On the surface and in caves like this, you will occasionally find pools of lava like this. Stay away for now, as lava can be very dangerous. For now, I've lit up enough of this cave that I can be fairly confident hostile mobs aren't going to interfere with me as I mine some more of the resources I can see here. So we'll grab this iron, and I can also see some copper lurking over here on the cave wall. Copper cannot be used to make tools. It's a decorative block mostly, although it has a couple of other uses. An Enderman has just shown up in this cave. You'll notice them teleporting around occasionally. A key piece of advice advice with these mobs is to not look at them directly from the chest upwards, because they will be neutral until you look at them, and then they get angry at you and they deal a lot of damage when confronted. We'll talk more about fighting Enderman in another video, but that seems like a pretty big challenge for episode 3. Ignoring the Enderman for now, we can continue to mine the rest of the resources I can find here, and we'll check around a couple of these pockets of iron just in case some more has generated below the surface, because iron and other rare resources will generate in veins, which don't always have all of their blocks exposed to the surface. I've left a couple of patches of coal just in case we want to harvest those on the way back, but I don't want to flood our inventory with coal right away. I want to look for a few more precious resources before we leave. The cave branches off into multiple directions from here though, so we're going to leave torches as we go to make sure we don't get disoriented. Oh, that skeleton has just made the mistake of shooting a zombie, and the skeleton and the zombie are now fighting, which is useful for me because the skeleton shot me a couple of times first and I needed to back off there. I also just got the not today thank you advancement for blocking a skeleton's arrow with my shield. This is a really effective way to approach skeletons when normally they'll try and put some distance between you and them so they can attack you from range. As I explore this narrower cave, you'll notice that I'm putting the torches on the left-hand wall, and it's usually a good idea to pick one wall or the other to place your torches on. This helps with navigation in caves, where it's very easy to get lost. If I place my torches on the left as I go caving, I know that all I need to do to retrace my steps is follow the torches on the right-hand wall. The way I remember that is pretty simple, and I believe it's thanks to Paul Soares Jr. that I remember this one. If you put your torches on the left, you'll always find the right way back. So we've explored this little cave here, which really just went around in a loop. We can return to the larger cavern and continue searching for resources. I already have a lot of copper in my inventory because copper ore will drop multiple pieces of raw copper, but I'm interested in finding a little bit more iron. And since I mentioned the coordinates of the mountain earlier, we'll talk about the coordinates in caves too. If I press F3, our Y coordinate right now is 39. Typically you will start finding iron in any coordinates below 64, but the highest concentration of iron can be found somewhere around Y20. Uh-oh, the spiders have found me, and this one is going to drop a spider eye for us, so that's a new drop that we can talk about a little later. Deeper into the cave, I have found a little bit more iron and coal, but I'm still having to watch my back in case any of these zombies come to attack me. And that zombie even dropped an iron ingot for us. Did you see that? That's another rare drop from zombies similar to carrots. Oh, I've run out of torches. It's time to quickly make a few more, which I find easiest to do using the recipe book. Right here on the floor of this cave, we are at Y27, and I'm starting to see a little bit more iron ore generating in the floor here. It also starts to appear in larger veins. So while you might find 1 or 2 blocks of ore generating closer to the surface, it's worth the risk of coming down into these mines to get larger amounts of iron. The deeper we go, we can also start to see new creatures appearing and even some other ores generating in the distance, but I think we might save those for another day. For now, I'm probably going to ignore some of the coal and copper I see generating in these walls. It's not always worth getting every single ore block in a cave, and it gives you the opportunity to come back and mine it later. At least you know where some coal is if you desperately need coal in a hurry in future. Another quick vein of iron mined out of the floor here. That's going to give us another 8 pieces of iron, which is very good. And there is also a small block of iron up there in the wall. So we're going to ride up this water stream since it is conveniently placed here. I'm going to hop into this, hold down the jump button so I float all the way to the surface, use the arrow keys to make sure I get positioned here, and jump off onto a cobblestone block I can place attached to the wall. That gives us the opportunity to mine this iron safely, and we can be fairly sure that nothing's going to sneak up on us while we're up here. It's also safe for us to jump off into the water here without taking any fall damage. Any amount of water on the ground will prevent fall damage if you jump into it, which can be an incredibly useful tip to know if you're navigating a large area of caves like this and you see an area where you can simply jump down into the next section. There's a little bit more iron ore down here, and we'll take a quick look in our inventory to see how much we have already. 37. I think we will aim to get a little bit more, but I think that's a successful first caving trip. We will have enough iron to deck out our tools and complete the full set of iron armor. This cave goes deeper in a couple of places and even has a couple of offshoots and branches that might be worth exploring later, so I think I will come back to this cave if I want to do any more mining. For now though, that is our 40th piece of iron ore. I think we will call it there and return to our house to smelt this. Oh, and a thunderstorm is happening outside, so that means we need to be extra careful since thunderstorms are conditions in which mobs will spawn on the surface even during the day. I'll take the opportunity while I'm here to grab a little bit more coal since we will need that to smelt the iron, and as I said earlier, it's always a good idea to bring more coal home than you left with. The thunderstorm is really building out there. That's actually kind of frightening. Well, now I'm stuck in this hole after having dug out that coal vein, and the sun is finally coming out. Thank goodness, that was a dramatic end to the thunderstorm. I realized that I never covered something very basic, but something we always use in Minecraft, and that is the ability to pillar upwards. If I'm holding some blocks in my hand right here, I can look down, hold the spacebar and a right click together, and you'll be able to place blocks underneath you as you jump, allowing you to pillar up out of holes like this very easily. Hopefully you haven't got stuck in too many holes already if you are unfamiliar with that. It's just one of those basic Minecraft skills that I always seem to take for granted. Well, we have made it through our first caving trip successfully. The sun is setting on the horizon. We'd better make for home quickly so that we can smelt this iron and sleep through the night. Back home at last, but there are a lot of monsters spawning around here, and yep, unfortunately we are unable to sleep. But here in the safety of our house, we can at least smelt a little bit more iron, and that will allow us to make an iron sword, which is something we were unable to do with the first batch of iron we smelted. I can also drop off some of the other resources we've acquired, like the decorative stone types, granite and diorite here, a little bit of cobblestone and gravel. And at this point we need to make another chest because the amount of resources we've gathered is so high, this inventory is getting very cluttered. So I'm going to pop another chest on top of there, use that to store some of our precious resources. Maybe we'll put my old tools and the food in here just so we can feel a little more organized. And with a little extra iron, we can now start to craft some armor, which will make us better defended against the monsters that are at our door. We'll craft a helmet first. Once we have 8 iron ingots, we'll be able to make a chest plate, like so, and we'll equip that as well. We now have a full set of iron armor with the exception of the leather boots, but since we're not dealing with powder snow, we can take those off, put them in here, and we can make some boots with iron as well. Not only that, but with 2 more iron ingots, we're going to make an iron sword. And you'll notice the sword has less attack damage than the axe does, but more attack speed. A sword's damage is also increased the better material you make it out of, so a diamond or a netherite sword is going to deal more attack damage than an iron sword does. You'll find that damage doesn't scale that way with axes, and so a sword can often be better at doing more damage per second than an axe can with a slower recharge speed. Axes also consume more durability for attacking monsters. It'll actually take 2 durability off the axe every time you use it, as opposed to just 1 durability every time you use the sword. Now we are fully kitted up with iron armor and an iron sword, it's time to take on some of these monsters, and the sword will recharge its attack nice and quickly. Combat works a little bit differently on Minecraft Bedrock Edition, so I can't really speak to that, but once I've taken care of these last few zombies, the perimeter of our house should be well defended enough that I should be able to hop into bed and get some sleep, and the rest of the mobs will hopefully burn in the sunlight. With the exception of the Enderman, and I just saw one teleport away holding a grass block, so they will slowly change the landscape around us. But very slowly, it shouldn't be a huge problem right away, and there's a lot of grass around here for them to hold. There we go, skeletons dying in the sunlight already. We can take out a couple of extra spiders while we're here, since I am a little short on string and I'd like to be able to make a bow and a fishing rod for future episodes. We also need to take out those creepers, grab some bones from any skeletons who have burned in the sun, 1 more spider, and then I think that's it for our morning patrol. In the meantime, the rest of our iron has been smelting in the furnace, and we're going to save this for future tools and other craftable items. Because just from that caving trip, it looks like our iron pickaxe is now at about half durability. The iron axe has taken a bit of a hit as well. We don't have an iron shovel yet, and there are a few other items we can make with iron that will be very useful for our travels. It looks like one of the zombies we killed has dropped a potato as well. That's fantastic. That means we can plant both the carrots and the potatoes alongside our wheat crops. Our first session gathering iron has really been the gateway to a lot of other stuff we can talk about, but for now, I think that's where we're going to leave it for this episode of the Minecraft Survival Guide. Pretty much fully kitted out in our iron gear now. We are doing pretty well, and hopefully you have been just as lucky on your first searches for iron and other precious resources. Thank you so much for watching this episode. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care, bye for now.